In this video I will tell you amazing stories of victories and failures of four legendary Soviet judokas. These great athletes not only achieved impressive successes on the world tatami, but also overcame many difficulties along the way. Their careers are an example of fortitude, perseverance, and true passion for judo. Let's remember together their bright moments, which have forever entered the history of sport. One of the most legendary Soviet judoka, honored master of sports of the Soviet Union, silver medalist of the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal, Valery Dvoinikov. Rare technique, exceptional physical and volitional qualities made Valery Dvoinikov a legend of world judo. He was considered one of the fastest judokas in the world, and Dvoinikov's trademark mill was feared by all his opponents. Valery Dvoinikov grew up in the small town of Ozersk in the Chelyabinsk region in a beautiful, hard-working, large family, and from childhood learned hard work. 13-year-old teenager skillfully wielded an axe and a heavy sledgehammer. From his peers he was distinguished by his calloused hands, not by years developed, powerful body, strong legs, and amazing resilience. For years, and usually full, without a single delay and skip, training, and this guy accumulates the technical mastery of the Leningrad School of Freestyle Wrestling and the Moscow School of Sambo Wrestling. Valery, using the most advanced methods of training top-class athletes, developed the maximum speed and strength explosion in the execution of crown techniques at any stage of the bout, and it soon led to the first significant victories. In 1968 at the Soviet Sambo Championship he finished all the bouts ahead of schedule, and in the final it took him only 17 seconds to lift a young man from Armenia on his shoulders and throw him on his shoulder blades. At the age of 17 he was already awarded the title of Master of Sports of the Soviet Union. The serious, thoughtful, extremely purposeful young man continued training with even greater zeal. He was not even 20 years old when he literally burst into the elite of adult wrestlers of the Union. In 1971 he was entrusted with the right to defend the honor of Soviet judo at the European Championships in Sweden. Debuted in adult championship, immediately won a bronze medal. Brilliantly conducts Valery's cycle of pre-Olympic tournaments. He wins in Poland, Hungary, France. But, alas, he could not get to the Olympics. The right to represent the Soviet Union at the Olympics received his main rival on the national team, Anatoly Novikov, who as a result took the bronze medal of these games. Valery Dvoinikov achieved the highest success in his sports career after entering the Kiev Institute of Physical Culture and Sport in 1973. Training in the capital of Ukraine under the guidance of legendary mentors Yaroslav Ivanovich Voloshyuk and Roman Alexandrovich Shkolnikov, he conquered the podiums of the highest level competitions. At the Soviet Championship in December 1973 he takes the 3rd place, without qualitative preparation. In 1974 he wins gold medals at the Soviet Championship, World University Championship, and European Championship in the team, and silver in the individual European Championship. At the University Championships, the whole world saw a shot of the final pair of judoka in the weight up to 71 kilograms. Valery in a high attacking stance, the Japanese judoka in a low defensive stance. All forces of the Japanese are directed on them not to get to this incomprehensible Soviet judoka on shoulders. However, it does not succeed, and it loses. In the crucial pre-Olympic year of 1975, two judokas dominated the country, Europe, and the world at 71 kilograms. Nevzorov and Dvoinikov. They performed brilliantly at the World Championships. Having defeated opponents in their subgroups, including Japanese judo masters, they reached the final. A sensation, an unprecedented triumph of the Soviet judo school, and foreign newspapers devoted more than one report to this event. But not everyone knows what it cost Valery to fight for gold in 3 finals: the Soviet Championship, the European Championship, and the World Championship. In 1975, he fights while protecting his left arm, which has been operated on. He loses to the magnificent judoka Vladimir Nevzorov, his friend and rival. After becoming a world silver medalist, Valery Dvoinikov continues to fight for a place on the Olympic team. 2 months before the Olympic Games, this athlete at the 1976 European Championships does a double. He wins a gold medal in the individual competition, and then, having defeated everyone in the team competition, wins a 2nd medal. The unique athlete defeated all the strongest judoka in Europe. This grandiose success allowed Valery to take a place in the Olympic team, but not in his weight up to 71 kilograms, but in the weight up to 80 kilograms. At the Olympic Games in Montreal he accomplished a real sporting feat. All opponents exceeded Valery by 7-10 kilograms. There are no weak in this weight, but Valery is unstoppable. he wins and goes to the final. And only in the decisive fight he loses to the representative of Japan, Isamu Sonoda. Fighting with judoka from Japan, he continuously attacked, tried to escalate the fight, but the Japanese wrestler blocked all his attempts. Although Sonoda, going for the carpet, twice should have received official warnings, and this is disqualification, a clean defeat, but the side judges were silent. But the Japanese judoka had to perform an inside clinch, to which Valery responded with a counter-action, as a result of which they both practically fell to the side. As immediately the judges evaluated Sonoda's action in Yuko, this evaluation decided the result of the meeting. But winning even an Olympic silver medal in such conditions is the rarest case in the world practice of martial arts and a manifestation of the true spirit of judo, the victory of skill over brute force. Till today, Valery Dvoinikov looks at his medal with sadness, and it seems to him that it casts a golden shine. He, as nobody else, understands. The medal should be golden. After the end of his sports career, Valery Dvoinikov coached the national teams of Ukraine, Algeria, Belgium, and Portugal. Among his pupils are national and continental champions and prize winners of European and World Championships. Since 1990, for Valery Dvoinikov lives in Belgium in the town of Liege. In due time, Belgian doctors forbade Valery Dvoinikov to go out on tatami. His heart failed him. A special device implanted in his body maintains the heart rate. And yet the legendary champion did not resign himself to the doctor's diagnosis and continues his active coaching activity, sharing the secrets of mastery with athletes of different age and level of training. Grigory Verichev is a legend of Soviet judo, an incredibly successful judoka with whom no other judoka of the Soviet Union can compare in terms of the number of titles. For 17 years, Grigory Verichev was a member of the junior, youth, and adult national teams of the Soviet Union. Suffice it to name his unique achievement, Verichev never returned from any start in his long sports career without a medal. His collection includes more than 100 awards won at international starts, 14 of which were won at World, European, and Olympic championships. He is a world champion, four-time European champion, 9-time Soviet champion, and bronze medalist of the 1988 Olympic Games, all in the most prestigious weight class, super heavyweight. During his sports career, Verichev participated in 187 tournaments, held more than 800 fights, and won 161 medals of various merits. Grigory Verichev himself especially emphasizes his victory in the 1985 European Team Championships in Brussels. In the final match with the French, there was a draw, 2-2. The fate of the Soviet national team depended on the outcome of Grigory Verichev's fight. At first he was inferior to his opponent, but a few seconds before the end of the fight held a winning throw and brought gold to his team. But still, one medal is missing in Grigory Verichev's huge collection, the Olympic gold. In 1984, because of the boycott of the Games in Los Angeles and being in excellent sports shape, he was content with victory in the International Tournament Friendship, which the Soviet media equated to the Olympics. Still, they were two big differences. Unfortunately, he failed to win gold at the 1988 Olympics in Korea as well, being satisfied only with bronze. As Verichev recalled, our coaches were so afraid of responsibility that they overloaded the team. As a result, the team won silver and for bronze medals. It seems to be not bad, but there is no gold. Grigory Verichev stood out for his straightforwardness and openness. He said what he thought in his eyes, not behind his back, which in many ways brought him a lot of trouble in his life. A striking example, a conflict with the then coaching staff of the Soviet national team, to whom he directly pointed out his mistakes and did everything in his own way. Because of this, he was dismissed from the national team on the eve of the 1983 World Championship in Moscow, where he really claimed a medal. But Verichev's most abiding pain is the Olympic Games. Grigory Verichev, by and large, could have participated in four Olympics: in Moscow 1980, Los Angeles 1984, Seoul 1988, and Barcelona 1992, but he participated in only one, in South Korea. At the Moscow Games and the Games in Spain, he was not included in the national team, although he was the most real contender for gold. And in Los Angeles, Soviet Union, he did not participate for political reasons. And, of course, the bronze medal at the Seoul Olympics does not reflect Verichev's true capabilities. After leaving the big sport in 1989, Grigory Verichev worked in Japan for 3 years, competing in kachu wrestling. More than once he traveled to the national team training camps as a coach consultant of welterweights and heavyweights. Then he headed a club, which was later named after Verichev. Earlier on the channel, I have already made many videos about legendary judokas who left a significant mark in history. Of course, most often they were judokas from Japan, because in the homeland of this wonderful sport, they are the best. But here about the legends of Soviet judo, I spoke much less, and there is also someone to tell about. For example, about the athlete who was recognized as one of the best judokas of the 20th century, the outstanding Soviet judoka Nikolay Solodukhin. 1980 Olympic champion in Moscow, two-time world champion, 1979 and 1983, European champion, 1979, five-time champion of the Soviet Union, and honored Master of Sports of the Soviet Union. Nikolay Solodukhin was born on January 3, 1955 in the small village of Posirkovo, near Zheleznogorsk, Kursk region, into a family of collective farmers. From a young age, the future champion was a very hard-working child and never shirked from work. And to work in the village, of course, had to work a lot, and Nikolay, along with his brothers and sisters, naturally every day helped their parents in the household. But despite the strong fatigue, in his free time he never refused to chase a ball with the village boys or wrestle with them. As his older brother Vladimir recalled that Nikolay often returned home late at night all in abrasions and bruises, but very happy, and told the following: defeated today Padya and Mishka, although they are training in the section in Zheleznogorsk. I will go to the city as soon as I finish the 8th grade of school. Having finished the 8th grade, Nikolay entered a technical school. He was patient and diligent, and devoted all his free time to sports, namely sambo. That very soon gave its positive results, and after only a year of regular training, Nikolay won the Zheleznogorsk Sambo Championship among juniors. Then it became clear that the young wrestler has excellent talents and they need to be developed. Later, the judoist recalled that training was always a pleasure for him, and he did his best to improve his skills every day. After leaving the school, Solodukhin went to Kursk, where he joined the police force and became interested in judo wrestling, a martial art in which he would achieve the highest results and write his name in the history of domestic and world sports. After 4 years of training, in 1975, unknown at that time in the sports world, Nikolay Solodukhin went to the Spartakiad of the Peoples of the Soviet Union. Solodukhin's performance at this tournament was amazing. Almost all his fights he finished early and as a result became the champion of the Spartakiad. It was very unexpected, because shortly before the Spartakiad, he lost the Youth World Championship held in Brazil. But it was this upsetting loss that made Nikolay work even harder in training. Hardworking and self-loving Nikolay, who was not used to sparring himself, began to persistently hone his technique, and as a result, he was no equal in the parter, and later, he was even nicknamed King of Parter. The transition to the next, namely to the international level, took Nikolay 4 years, so that once again Solodukhin was talked about in 1979, when he won first at the European Championships and then at the World Championships. By the way, a year before these victories, Nikolay Solodukhin became a silver medalist at the European Championship, thus once again declaring his potential. In 1980, the Summer Olympic Games in Moscow were held, which were important for the then leadership of the Soviet Union. The Soviet athletes were tasked with winning the maximum number of medals in all disciplines in order to show the West how strong the Soviet Union was in sports. As for judo, one of the main contenders for gold in judo competitions was Solodukhin, who later lived up to the expectations placed on him and coped with the task. Solodukhin left no chance for victory to the strongest judokas of the world, becoming the Olympic champion in judo in the weight category up to 65 kilograms. After these Olympic Games, in the following years, Nikolay Solodukhin repeatedly became a prize winner and winner of major international competitions, as well as championships of the Soviet Union. In particular, in 1983, Solodukhin became world champion for the second time. At the end of his sports career, Nikolay Solodukhin returned to his native Kursk, where he lives now. He runs a judo school, bringing up a new generation of judokas who now compete in various competitions in Russia and the world. Among champions, there are many people with a complex character who are used to taking things to the extreme, and it is this trait that helps them to fight for gold medals in sports arenas. But a difficult character does not always lead to good. The story of judoka Yuri Sokolov is a vivid confirmation of this. He became world judo champion and could well have counted on an Olympic medal, but he did not go to the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles because of the Soviet boycott. And at the 1988 Olympics in Seoul he failed, and 2 years later he was found murdered in his own home. As the investigation established, Sokolov was a member of an organized crime group and was killed as a result of a gang war. Yuri's character was explosive, irascible, he studied moderately and often fought. And to let the energy of a 12-year-old boy in a peaceful direction, his father sent him to the local sports club Malachit to practice judo and sambo. His first coach was Leonid Veselov, who taught the young boy the basics of wrestling. Yuri then more than once admitted that it was Veselov who infected him with judo, and in general it is not known what he would have become if not for the sport. Coach Veselov was able to discern in the boy inordinate talent and paid special attention to him. Particular efficiency and persistence, Yuri was not distinguished, and the mentor sometimes had to cunningly force his pupil to work. But the natural data allowed Sokolov to cheat in something. He was already achieving outstanding results. Already in 1978, 5 years after he started training, 17-year-old Yuri won not only the Soviet championship among juniors, but also the European championship. And in 1979, the champion repeated his success at the all-union start, after which he was drafted into the army. After the army, the famous coach Yaroslav Karad started working with Yuri. At first, the relationship between the specialist and the athlete did not work out. In addition to the fact that Sokolov had a crisis in wrestling in general, he and Karad could not find a common language. The victory at the military games, which helped Sokolov to believe in himself, changed a lot. He himself had said many times that work consists of ups and downs, and how you survive the downs will determine your future successes. Soon, Sokolov was included in the Soviet national team and began training in Leningrad. Yuri won the 1984 pre-Olympic national championship and therefore earned the right to go to the Olympics in Los Angeles. But no one went to America because of the Soviet boycott. It was a hard blow for Yuri, who had hoped to be among the medalists at the 1984 Games. Sokolov's main achievements came in the mid-80s, when he won the European and World Championships in turn. At the World Championships in Seoul, he reached the final bout without apparent difficulties, in which he won a clean victory over a local Korean athlete in front of a bewildered audience. Sokolov showed the world an impressive style. He was not afraid to go on the attack, had no doubts, improvised on the mat, and simply stunned his opponents with the onslaught and frequency of holds. His partners could not even explain what exactly he was doing during the competition. His movements were so unconventional. Karad admired his mentee's strength and psychology that led him to victories and explained what made him different from other athletes. For him, the toughest fight was in the finals. He just couldn't afford to lose. It was a tragedy for him. If anyone else could have calmed down by making it to the final, it wasn't Yuri. For him, it was a moment of principle. Having won the World Championship, Sokolov, as people around him noted, relaxed. Somewhere he didn't show up for training, somewhere he worked in vain, somewhere he had a wrong attitude. These trifles made up the result. At the 1987 World Championships in Assen, the current title holder lost to the ambitious Japanese Yosuke Yamamoto, who had thoroughly studied his opponent's technique. Second place for the Soviet master was a real blow. After the defeat at the World Championships, something broke in Yuri's character. He continued to train and compete, and by the 1988 Olympics he was one of the leaders. But happy soul was unfavorable to the athlete this time. Sokolov lost his first bout at the Olympics. disgruntled sports authorities put him on a plane the next day and sent him home in disgrace. While the Judokas teammates were on the tatami, he, still shocked and discouraged, was on a plane to Leningrad. After the defeat, he still returned to the mat, took part in tournaments, and even won prizes, but the failure at the Games '88 was the beginning of Sokolov's end as an athlete. Having decided that sports would not earn him a living, Sokolov began to conduct dark deeds in Leningrad. As the investigation will later establish, in the years of perestroika, Sokolov became involved in racketeering, joined the organized crime group Tambov, and in this criminal field has achieved some success. He became an authority here, found financial prosperity, and also death. July 14, 1990, world judo champion Yuri Sokolov was killed in his own apartment. The motive, according to the version of the investigation, was a criminal showdown. Since his unsuccessful performance at the Olympics had not passed 2 years, Sokolov was only 29 years old.